Okay, Mike, it's all yours.
All right, are you recording, Jerry?
Yes.
All right, I heard someone say recording and then stop recording immediately right after that.
I was trying to get rid of some of the janitorial stuff.
All right, so just wanted to make sure that you were good. All righty. So I gotta hit the share button. I have some technical issues today, so I'm on one single monitor. And it's painful because I'm usually on 3.
A Paleolithic.
Oh my gosh.
I know the feeling.
All right, can you see my screen?
We can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm going to now go into, can you still see my screen? Is it
Yes.
Yes.
in presentation mode?
Yes.
Yes.
Outstanding. I love it when a plan comes together. All
Hey,
right. Unfortunately, I'm going to move this out of the way because it isn't working. So I'm going to cause an earthquake if you're looking at my picture. All right, that could be better. All right. So moving on with, I got to get this out of the way. I got everybody's faces here, and that's taking up too much real estate on my single screen. All right, there we go. So this is module 8. Super exciting, cool stuff. Operating regulations. Do you believe me? It is important, though. That is truly important stuff that you kind of need to know, especially if you're going to move on, and do more things with your license other than just chat every once in a while, which most operators do. They find things they want to do. So I can get into some definitions first. So the control operator, it's the operator that's responsible for, is the licensed operator who's responsible for making sure all the rules are followed. So, as the control operator, I often think of this as the single throat choke. You will learn in this chapter that you can, other people can talk on your microphone without a license or without your level of license if you go higher in levels, and you can allow them to transmit, but you are still responsible for them. So, but we'll get into that. So the control point, that's wherever the control operator is operating the transmitter. Station licensee is responsible for designating the control operator, which is what I was talking about just a second ago with, you designating who's holding that microphone. All transmissions must be supervised by whoever's the control operator. I'll just say by you. The control point can be remotely located and connected by phone lines or an internet or radio link. Okay, so we're getting into our first set of questions with just that little bit here. When can a amateur station transmit without a control operator?
Never. D.
That would be very correct.
Okay. Bob, can I ask you, who are the station control operators for our DART repeater stations? Any idea?
For the DART, I think it's John T. Garden and I forget who the other one is.
But does he have to listen on the to the repeater just in case someone comes on at 3 a.m. and starts swearing?
No. No, he doesn't.
He doesn't?
Well, and we'll get into that a little bit. We'll get into that a little bit too, coming up. Because, you know, the repeater, you know, as you asked, so we'll throw this out there so everybody knows, you know, the repeater isn't responsible for somebody transmitting to the repeater. It's whoever transmits that's really the responsible person there. So if you think you're going to get a repeater operator in trouble by not doing your call sign yet transmitting and swearing or doing bad things, it's still you that they're going to track down and find. So who designates the station control operator?
The station licensee A.
That would be correct. What is an amateur station's control point?
C, the location at which the control operator's function is performed.
That is correct. And I don't know that we actually talked about this. Sorry about that, but correct answer anyway. So yeah, the control point is, you know, where the transmitting is, you know, the function is being performed, the control is being performed from. So privileges and guest operating. So as I was mentioning a little bit earlier, you may, you know, control operator may operate a station, you know, in any way you choose. You can operate your station however you like, as long as you stay within your license class and the FCC rules. So you can do it however you like. You may allow other amateurs to use your station. They're called guest operators. Let's say in my case, so some of you have just passed your test and some of you are about to pass your test when you take it. Notice that positive attitude. So you'll be technician level. I'm general level. If you're at my house, I can allow you to use my radio and transmit on a frequency that I'm allowed on, but you're not normally allowed on. But if I leave the room, you're back to technician again. You can't do anything that a technician can't do anymore. If you don't have your license, and if we were live in the class, I would have brought in a bunch of radios tonight, and we would have gone to different parts of the building, and we'd have talked to each other. Even though you don't have a license, you know, we would have allowed third-party transmission to come across. That is how we just recently were in a school, and we allowed students, they don't have their license, but those students got to hold that radio or that microphone in their hand, push that button and transmit and talk to astronauts on the International Space Station and ask them questions. We were there, we monitored them, we were responsible for them. So if they start swearing, if they start doing bad things, it falls back on us who have our license and gave that responsibility. So before you give that responsibility to someone, just make sure that they're not going to get you to lose your license. And yeah, and I talked about all those things already, so we'll just move on. What determines the transmitting frequency privileges of an amateur station?
D.
D, yes.
Yeah,
D.
D.
That would be correct. Because I can give you my ability, no matter what level you are. I can share my privileges with you temporarily while I'm in, that's very important, while I'm present. So if I just leave the room to use the restroom, or if I leave my office here and head into the kitchen for a glass of water, you can no longer use my privileges. I have to be right there. When is a normal, under normal, oh, I can't read this because these things are in my way from the session or from the sharing. Okay, I can move that, good. Under what circumstances may a technician license be a control operator of a station operating an amateur class band segment?
At no time, A.
A.
When the club station, well, we didn't talk about club stations, have we?
Not yet.
My bad. So you got it wrong, but only because we didn't cover that. Sorry. So, when the club station trustee holds an amateur class license, then you can, talk on that band. So it's kind of following those same kind of rules that we talked about a minute ago about, sharing the ability.
So, question on that, would that be something like, if, let's say the club repeater had a echo link on a 10-meter band that was outside a technician's privilege, but the technician is transmitting on the 2-meter band, is that going to be as similar to this, or is that something else?
Oh, great.
I'm not sure.
Well, if what
One
he's
of you guys
saying,
grab that?
yeah, if what he's saying is that the technician is transmitting on the 2-meter band, your license restricts to what bands you can transmit on. You can listen to any band you want. So,
Oh, yeah.
So if the repeater was repeating it on that frequency, it wouldn't be the technician liability then?
Correct.
Okay, so that would be similar to, this would be like an example of that in a sort of kind of way, since you're using a repeater.
Right.
Okay.
But that's, I don't think that would happen.
Yes, I know, but I was using that as a hypothetical.
Gotcha. Okay.
thing.
yeah, because in that case, you're transmitting on the 2-meter band, which you're allowed to, and then the trustee of the repeater would have an extra class, and so that would allow him to transmit that to the, to an HF band.
Okay. Thank you.
When is a control operator not the station licensee who is responsible for proper operation of the station?
D, the control operator and the station's licensee.
Correct. Who does the FCC presume the control operator of an amateur station unless documented to the contrary in station records?
D.
That is correct. All right, identification. So obviously your call sign is your identification on the air. You can't transmit and say, hi, this is Mike, and I'm talking on the radio. It is not your call sign. That is not your proper identification. You can use it. You know, you can along with your ID, you know, with your call sign, but you can't use it instead of. Your call sign is your only identification, only real identification. Your identification rules apply at all times. So coming on the radio and not identifying yourself is against the rules. Even if you're testing an antenna, even if you're just, you know, want to test and make sure that, you know, you can be heard. Hi, can I be heard? Is illegal. Hi, can I be heard? This is W2MJS or W2MJS. Hi, can I be heard? That would be legal. But without the call sign, don't do it. And it says the exception is without control, exception when you're controlling a model craft. To make short transmissions to a test antenna or test an antenna adjustment, that's what I was just saying. I have heard that some people will just try to push their microphone and listen for the repeater to connect. And you shouldn't do that.
That's called a kerchunk.
Yep. Not something you should really do. I mean, I guess it's effective because you can tell that you're connected to the repeater, but it's not, you know, it's not, it's number one, it's against the rules. Number two, it's irritating for everybody who's on that station and monitoring. You know, to just hear different sounds, but you know, I'm waiting for somebody to come on so I can talk to somebody, and I keep hearing somebody key up, but there's never any talking. It's irritating. And I do hear it every once in a while. I don't know if it's actually what's happening or not, but don't do it. It's not nice and it's against the rules. Give your call sign at least once every 10 minutes during a contact. So when you're talking to somebody, give your call sign at least every 10 minutes. I've heard some people say that you should give your call sign, you know, at the end of a transmission if for that 10-minute counter. I don't think it matters where you do it, as long as you remember to do it. I will often do it as I pass to the person I'm talking to, but what I will also often do is someone will pass it to me and I'll give it right immediately. You know, and all I got to do is, you know, W2MJS and go on with whatever you want to say. But do it every 10 minutes. And then when you're finishing the conversation, you know, do it again to close the conversation with your call sign. If you're using phone, you're required to identify in English. So if you know another language and if you know somebody else that, you know, speaks that language, you shouldn't be speaking that language. You should be speaking English. And I got to move this thing out of my way again because it is covering the words up for me, and I'm sure it's not for you, but it is for me. Okay, there it's gone. FCC recommends you use phonetics. So Whiskey 2 Mike Juliet Sierra is how I will often identify, but that gets kind of wordy when I'm doing it every 10 minutes. So I'll do it every once in a while. And it really helps the other, the other hams out there that you're talking to hear who you really are. If they're writing down a log, or if they just want to talk back to you and they want to use your call sign to talk back to you. Very helpful using phonetics. If you're calling into a net, you need to use phonetics, and most nets will tell you, please, will almost require you to use phonetics for your call sign. Just makes it so much easier to write it and hear it and know what your letters really are. So, and it's just a polite thing to do. So please do it. And you may give your call sign by CW when communicating by voice. They don't require CW anymore for the test, which is really good, I think, because I don't know CW. I haven't tried to learn CW. I keep telling myself someday I'm going to learn it. But I haven't yet. And so, it's not part of the test. You don't need to know it. You won't learn it. So it's something you'll learn on your own if you want to use it. But
Mike, I could say that
yes,
a lot of repeaters, even non-amateur repeaters, still use CW for their identification. I remember listening to a taxi company and police departments, although before they started going into this encoded stuff, and they all identified with a very fast CW. It's funny.
yeah, and you'll hear that if you're listening to listening to the repeater. They will identify themselves every once in a while. I don't remember for a repeater right this moment how often it needs to identify itself. I think our Hazel Park repeater does it every 15 minutes, I believe.
Yeah, it seems like it, because I think I heard that a lot today.
And some of those times, it's a person saying, "Hi, this is Mike, W2MJS. Welcome to the DART repeater." And sometimes it'll just go and done. And I don't know Morse code, so don't hear what I just did and tell me that wasn't the DART repeaters, because I have no idea what sounds I just made.
Well, it costs you $100, but you can get one of those MFJ CW translators. Just stick it next to the loudspeaker and it'll print out whatever it hears.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
You can solve almost any problem by throwing money at it.
Yeah, true. I'd really rather learn it. If I want to learn it, I'm gonna, I really would like to learn it, but that might help in learning it though.
Mm-hmm.
I have one right here that's one of those kits,
That's a lot cheaper, I'll bet.
$12.
Oh, I like that kind of price.
Yeah.
Thank you. I will look into that.
You got
Is
to
that
solder
another one
it
of those
together.
Chinese things?
It is.
Is that the one you have to solder together yourself?
It is. And
Yeah, I
it's
was looking
not,
at that.
it's not, it took me about an hour to do it. Took me longer to get it out of the package than it was to put it all together.
All right. Again, the pieces are in my way.
It's encouraged.
Now they're at the top of the screen. All right, what do FCC rules state regarding use of phonetic alphabet for your station identification in amateur radio service?
It is encouraged.
That is right. It is encouraged. Not a rule, but it's a nice thing to do.
And it helps so much, especially if you're in noisy environments.
Yeah. Well, and everybody's got different tones and accents, and you're going to be talking to people all over the world. You're going to be talking to people all over the country. Just in our country alone, there's many different accents, and sometimes that K sounds like a J. But if I say Juliet instead of kilo, it's pretty clear what I am. So very, 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 very helpful. All right, when amateur stations transmit without when may amateurs transmit without identifying on the air?
And transmitting signals to control model craft.
That would be correct.
So are there limits on how far that can go? Does anybody know?
I believe so, but I don't know.
Okay, I will Google it later.
Yeah, I know someone that, so let me just ask a quick question here to make sure. Is model craft, I forget what they're called now.
Drones?
Yeah, drones. Is
I
that what model craft is, I assume?
Yeah, drones or some airplanes, model airplanes that fly, or
Okay,
model
there's some
RC
boats,
cars.
okay.
some cars,
So,
some boats.
because I
yeah.
know,
Boats, duck decoys?
oh, I know a guy who works with me at GM who noticed one of my patches on my coat, and we started talking about, and he mentioned he has his license, and his license is equivalent to an extra here in the States. He lives in Windsor, so he's Canadian, and he flies drones, and the drones that he uses, peak into the amateur radio frequencies. And so he was required to get his license, in order to fly his drone.
Well, Mike, it's not, I don't know if it's like that here in the United States, because I know that there are a lot of drone frequencies that are, kind of assigned to drone operators without a license.
Right. That is true. And I asked him that, and he said there are frequencies here in the States that drones use, that are in our amateur band here.
Right, and
But
that,
we didn't talk about it very much.
Yeah. Well, if there's a big competition or something of that sort, a lot of people are going to be using the public drone frequencies. And if you can use some control frequencies that are kind of exclusive and now not crowded, I think you're at a sort of advantage. We have had people getting their licenses exactly for that reason.
Yep.
I know there's a separate drone license you can get too that allows you to be on some of those frequencies.
Yeah, and that might be what we offer here in the States, is a drone license. I just thought it was interesting that his license is equivalent to our amateur extra license.
Interesting,
So
because
he had to really, 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 study up just to fly his stinking drone the way he wanted to.
see, here in the States, the drone frequencies are all VHF or higher, so your technician license will do it for you.
Yep. I believe I don't know this for sure because I don't know the laws over there, but I believe, we have 3 licenses here. I believe Canada has one. I don't think they have a technician and a general and an extra. I think they have an amateur radio license. That's the way it sounded to me.
Hmm.
But I'm going to look into that now that I'm thinking about it. But that gets us into a little bit of following the rules I had mentioned before about, following when you're, here in Detroit, you're in a boat and you could easily cross into Canadian waters. And so now you need to make sure that you're following Canadian rules and your US rules. So just because you've crossed over into Canada doesn't mean, hey, I'm an extra now. No. You get to follow their rules, but you cannot exceed the US rules. You're still a technician.
Well, you're actually, there's reciprocal operating privileges. So you can operate in Canada. But again, as Mike is saying, you have to go by their rules.
Right. All right. So when are you required to transmit your assigned call sign?
A.
D.
D would be correct.
Which is kind of funny. You're not required to send your call sign at the beginning. You probably will, but you're not required. You're required to send it at the end. I always thought that was funny. Sorry.
Yeah,
And
you're
I'm
right.
with you. I agree. But we use a lot of etiquette, and etiquette. If you're calling for somebody, I want to talk to somebody specific. N8REL. This is W2MJS. Well, I'm at the beginning and I said my contact. Or if I just want to talk to anybody, W2MJS QC. So I'm, our etiquette kind of makes us use our call sign in the beginning, but not required. So on the test, just remember it's every 10 minutes and at the end. What language may you use for identification when operating in a phone subband?
C. English.
Inglés.
That would be correct. What method of call sign identification is required for stations transmitting phone signals?
B. Send the call sign using CW or phone emissions.
B would be correct. All right, tactical calls. So tactical call signs or tactical IDs help to identify where a station is. We use tactical call signs for, I'll give you a great example for Warren CERT. I am in charge of all radio communications for Warren CERT. And so I will, my tactical call sign is communications. So wherever I'm at, people want to get information or want to get information to somebody else who isn't on a ham radio. is on a different radio. They just say, hey, communications, blah, 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 blah. So I would use that, or other operators that are hams might use, a street location. I'm at, Center Street, or I'm at the TCF, this is TCF Bank. Their assignment is to block a driveway to stop cars from driving out into Van Dyke during the fireworks. And so we assign by that location. And that, so just the tactical call sign is just telling somebody where they're at. You can use them anytime. And they're often, used in emergency situations. You also still need to use your FCC call sign though. So I can't log on, to my, at my post and only use communications. I still need to follow the every 10 minutes or at the end of communications. And often there's long briefs. So I often will say, this is communications W2MJS. Just to make sure that I'm not, no one can complain, and I'm making sure that I'm staying within the rules and within the law. So I just do it pretty much every transmission. And so do the people that, are, on my team and on their assignments. They use their tactical and their call sign together. Sometimes it's a little wordy, but it's okay. We're able to communicate, so we're happy.
What they sometimes would do at some of the parades and things of that sort, the net control station would pretty much say all together now ID, and in one brief moment everyone would recite their actual ham calls, and that'll take care of it.
What was that last one? I didn't read that last one there. Get this words, get the box out of my way again. When a new operator takes over tactical station, she gives her, yeah, so just, just make sure you identify yourself, make sure you keep on using your FCC assigned call sign is basically what, what your rule should be, what you should remember. No matter what you're using, don't forget your FCC assigned call sign. That's what's really important. When you're just talking on the radio, if I'm talking to Bob, hey, N8REL, we'll talk for a while, and I'll call him Bob every once in a while. But I'll also call him N8REL also. So that's almost like a tactical call sign. So the moral of the story, make sure you're using your FCC assigned call sign every 10 minutes and at the end. Often must you, oh man, he's killing me not having two screens. Got to keep moving this box up and down and up and down. Often must you identify your FCC assigned call sign when using tactical call signs, such as race headquarters.
C at the end of each communication and every 10 minutes during a communication.
That is correct. Self-assigned indicators. Okay, when you're operating away from your home station, you add information to your call sign so they're aware of your location. So when I'm on my radio, on my base station here at home, I'm just W2MJS. I have another radio that I just replaced it used to be my base. It's a Kenwood. It's a Kenwood Mobile, and it's going in my truck as soon as we get warm outside. And so when I get into my truck and I'm driving, I will say W2MJS Mobile. And that lets people know that I'm not at my location. You know, I'm driving, I'm somewhere else. Mobile also lets people know that you're not going to be on very long. If you start attending nets, nets will have, you know, the first thing that a lot of nets will ask for is, you know, in and outs or short timers. And that's what they mean. They mean mobile guys, guys that either a short timer, someone that, you know, I don't have time for your whole 30-minute net. I'm sorry, I just don't. But I want to check in and support your net. So I have 5 minutes. Can you just take me now? That's what short timers are. You're in, you're out. You're not participating in the whole net. You're just in and out, right at the beginning and gone. Mobiles are the same way. I'm driving and I'm on my way to Home Depot. So I'm not going to be in my car for the next half hour. I'm going to be in my car for just a few minutes. So identifying yourself as mobile just lets people know kind of where you're at. Now, I assume, I don't know CW, and so I'm hoping, I meant to ask you guys about this before, you know, Bob and Jerry, and I just realized that I never did. I don't know what they specifically mean here, you know, with the slant mark and, you know, stuff like that. Are they talking with CW?
Well, the slant mark would,
Did it.
yeah, did it, audit.
So they're not talking about, you know, anything other than CW.
Well, if you're doing radio teletype, or if you're doing PSK or you know, JT whatever, then you'd use that as a portable, or as a yeah, usually as a portable.
All right.
But, you know, sometimes you'll hear people on the radio, you know, like if someone has just passed their extra, they'll say, you know, like, this is N8REL slant AE. You don't hear that very much, but you hear it sometimes, you know, and that's so yeah, they actually do say it in voice too.
And but that's not what it's meant for, is that correct?
Actually, yeah. Actually, yeah, it's meant for that kind of thing.
Oh, so you could verbally say it and still not be wrong.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when you upgrade, you know, before you get on the database, you know, you can still operate by telling them that you have no, you pass the exam, you have your CSCE, and you have the privileges. But that lets you know that lets everyone know that you have the privileges, because somebody's going to everyone's got a computer now. They'll look up your call. Hey, he's in the extra portion of the band. Why is he there? Well, because he has a /AE. He's now an amateur extra. So that's one reason you'd use that.
All right, that makes sense. So we all learned here. Thank you, guys. And there's just some examples of how that's done and or said.
Like I was just listening on the CW on the 15-meter band. There was a PJ2 / K7 something. PJ2 is I think the island of Curacao in the Caribbean. So he's using that / to let everyone know that he's there, but his home station is K7 something or other.
Gotcha. Okay. Some other country. Okay, so no conflicting. Test transmissions. Identification rules apply to on-air transmissions. Call signs must be given every 10 minutes. So like that's what I was just saying earlier. You know, if you're testing an antenna, you know, don't just key up, you know, use your call sign, use words. And in that testing, you know, because sometimes tests take longer. Just make sure that you're doing it every 10 minutes. It's, you know, this rule is everywhere, every 10 minutes. Your transmission, your call sign every 10 minutes. So
Yeah.
drilling into you.
If you're using CW, the test signal is V da 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 da, and sometimes you'll hear someone who's trying to tune his station or tune his tuner da 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 da. Then he'll identify. But if you're using phone, you don't have to do da 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 da.
So when you're testing, you want to try to avoid interference, you know, so, you know, try to keep your tests as short as possible and try to use frequencies that, you know, other people aren't using. You know, unless you're trying to do a radio check, you want other people using that frequency. You know, so they can tell you, yeah, you sound good, or a lot of static, or, you know, but, you know, just try to be respectful of the airways of everybody else on the airways. And so couple examples. I've never heard anybody say their call sign VVV. Oh, it's Morse code. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's why, sorry. But you know, I hear all the time, you know, W2MJS testing. I've used it plenty of times testing antennas and you know, testing out new radios and stuff. So which of the following require making on-air, which of the following is required when making on-air test transmissions?
A, identify the transmitting station.
That is correct. I don't know why that said that, but
Never D.
oh, we've already had these questions. I wonder if something got messed up here, or if that was the, I don't think that was the end of. Let me go through here. I may have just made a minor error here. Yep, I did make a minor error there. So here we are to the next piece, interference. Interference is caused by noise and by signals. So interference, you know, as we've talked about before in this class, is anything that isn't what you intend to transmit. That isn't really trying to phrase this well. You know, interference is anything other than your, the voice you're trying to send across. So static background noise, music playing in the background is bad, because you can't transmit music. And so that's part of the definition of interference. So anything in the background or anything that's alongside your message, static and stuff like that, is interference. It comes from many different places, as we said. It can come from appliances. It can come from, different pieces of electronic equipment. Lots of different things. I have a set of old Altec speakers that I have connected to my computer that were my dad's from, 40 years ago. He bought them. And I still use them because they still work. And if I have them on and I transmit, I'm not sure what comes over the other end, but the speakers themselves will do a lot of buzzing and make a lot of noise. So I'm not sure if I cause interference on the radio or not, but I make sure that those speakers are off when I transmit, because I don't know what's coming out coming out on the other end.
Mike, I think whatever's inside the speaker coils or something, or wiring or whatever that is, in being inducted by your radio signals,
That's what I'm assuming too, that it's only happening on my speakers.
Yes, you might try spending a session with a bunch of toroids or whatever.
And yeah, I was actually thinking about doing that, but I realized I don't use my computer all that often while I'm transmitting.
Mhm.
So it's not been high on my
Right.
list.
Life is short.
Yeah. Interference from nearby signals is called QRM. So if you're doing some testing and you say, "Yeah, am I sounding?" and someone might say, "I hear a little QRM," that's what they mean. Harmful interference is transmission signals that are seriously degrades, obstructs, or interrupts the communication of a regulated service. And those are harmful interferences against the rules.
Yeah, for instance, Mike, on 14.300 in the 20 meter band, it's been used as a kind of an emergency frequency for hurricane storms. There's a hurricane net that meets on 14.300, and they coordinate a lot of different groups' efforts. If someone was purposely trying to interfere with them, I'd take it very, very hard.
And yep, yeah, that would not be a good thing. But that also includes, and I'll go on a much lighter tone, nets. The Warren CERT net, it has a purpose. It's not, just so we can have some fun and we can be friends. We are doing our net every week to make sure that our communication for emergencies works across, in every area, in every section of Warren. We have, Warren, we broke Warren up into four quadrants. And, we're making sure that we can communicate on our radios everywhere in Warren. And so, if someone tries to interfere with that during our net intentionally, yeah, it's just a bad thing. You don't do that. And it's against the rules. willful interference, and that's what I was just talking about. Not allowed. Don't do it. If someone made you mad, find a different way to get back at them if you think you need to get back at them. Don't use your radio, because you're not just going to get back at them. You're really hitting anybody who's listening. It's not nice. It's not fair. It's not right. I have heard it done. And, I was listening to a conversation. I wasn't even in the conversation. I was just monitoring it while I was at work. And I think it was on the Livonia repeater. And some guy came on and somebody accused him of having, as somebody said earlier, everybody's got a computer. Well, people will look at your license. Somebody accused this guy of having a expired license. Your license expired 3 years ago. Why are you transmitting? And that guy said a lot of mean things and then just kept keying up and interfering with their conversation. I'm just listening and it's pissing me off. I'm not even in the conversation. So, you affect more people than you need to. So if you need to, if you feel you need to, don't do it on the radio. Please don't use your ham radio, for that kind of malarkey. Not only is it not right, not nice, but it's also you'll lose you're at risk of losing your license. It's not worth it. Third-party communications. Oh, yeah.
So what, like my situation where I'm just coming in garbled right now, we think it's because I'm in my house and I didn't realize it. Would that be willful if I didn't realize I was doing that? And would I get in trouble for something like that?
No, because you're actually trying to communicate, but you're having technical difficulties. Now, if you sat there all day and did nothing to fix the situation, but just kept keying up and trying, Einstein's definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and over again, but expecting different results. If you're doing something insane like that, then now you're doing harmful. Yep. But if you're actually you're moving around your house, you're going outside, you're changing your antenna, you're looking and going, oh, maybe this is it. Maybe I tuned my frequency closer, or maybe I did, I didn't set my tone right, or whatever. You're making changes to make it better. No, that's not harmful. Yes, it's interference. No, you're not going to get in trouble for that. You're only going to get in trouble if you're doing it and it's broken and you're causing interference and that it's not doing any good, but you're just making noise anyway. So you're perfectly okay if you're having a malfunction that you're trying to get through.
Yeah, I figured something was going on, so I would call out and right after people were done talking and having their conversation, so I wouldn't interfere with them at all or jump in, because I don't know the etiquette of that completely.
Well, what were you doing? Were you on a repeater doing this testing or?
Yeah,
Yes.
so just so you know, we were trying to talk before you came on, Jerry, and he turned his radio on, and Bob turned his radio on, and we were on the DART repeater, and because he got his call sign.
Right.
So we were trying to give him his first communication, and all we hear is static. When we hear him hit the repeater.
Yeah.
All he's getting is static. He can hear. He just is getting, so tomorrow he's gonna try going outside. I'm gonna be monitoring all day. I'm at home. So I'm gonna be monitoring all day and helping him out and seeing if maybe we can get him through.
I also just put my 3-foot whip antenna on it too, so that might help some.
Yep.
And,
Well,
no, Mike,
now you're-
where are you located, Mike? You're around this neck of the woods, aren't you? Royal Oak or something?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm in
Oh,
Warren,
you're Warren, yeah,
Ken and Ryan.
right. Oh,
Yeah, that's not too far from me. I'm in Ferndale. 9 and John R basically.
okay. So you could probably do simplex.
Yeah, we might be able to, yeah. So tell you what, if I hear static tomorrow, what I'm gonna tell you to do, I'm gonna respond with your call sign. I'm gonna call you. And I'm gonna say, hey, was that you out there? If it was, please transmit again, try again. And if I hear static again, I'm gonna give you a different frequency to go to.
Okay.
And make sure you have your PL set as well as your offset.
Yep, yeah, we checked all that.
If I trusted the Chirp software to program that right for me, downloading it from Repeater Book.
Oh,
No,
yeah, and that's, I haven't
have
had
to-
any problem with that at all. That's all been really pretty darn good.
And you
Yeah.
have to input that on Chirp. It just doesn't
Yeah.
do it automatically. You have to input that.
Gigo.
If you
No,
it
if you
act-
go to the repeater, if you download the repeat, find me a repeater. There's a piece of the software that allows you to say, hey, I want any repeater within this radius, or I want all the Oakland County repeaters that are 2 meter.
It's
It will
under
take those and
radio.
put all of the
And that's
information.
And that's
for
an
you.
RF finder that is not in the Chirp program.
It is. You go to radio, go to query data source.
Yep.
Yeah.
There
that's
is
still- It's still an RF repeater. That's you can get it through Chirp, but that's still a separate program from Chirp.
but it downloads it into Chirp automatically.
Yeah, either way,
and
it's part
loads
of,
it.
it's part
Yeah.
of Chirp.
No,
know,
it's
part
not
of-
part of Chirp. You have to pay for RF finder and you
No,
can
you
get it from
don't.
Chirp.
Chirp
No,
is free.
RF
Chirp is
finder.
free, but RF finder is not.
Repeater Book is free though, and you can use the Repeater Book version of it. Repeater Book's linked to them now. And that's one I use. RF is a paid third party you have to pay for, but the Repeater Book on there is not. And that's one I used.
Okay, you can still see my screen here. Do you see Chirp?
Not yet.
Yes.
Yeah, we see Chirp. We don't have, it's a blank page pretty much.
Yeah, so if I go here and I say query data source, and I say repeater book, and I say, I'll just do political query, and I'll say, give me the Oakland County 2 meter repeaters. Boom. There they are. I paid nothing for this. I
But it's
downloaded
still
Chirp
not
for
part of the
free.
program. It's a separate program from it that they incorporate in it.
Either way, it came with Chirp. It's part of Chirp. I
It is
didn't buy
not
it.
part of Chirp. It's incorporated in it, but it is still a separate program.
Okay, whatever. What I'm telling you is you don't have to do anything extra to get it. When you download Chirp, the package comes with it. You don't have to say, oh, also give me. It's part of the software for Chirp. It might be a separate program, just like everything else in here is a separate program.
And that's exactly what I was saying. It's a separate program. It's not,
Yeah.
doesn't come with it standard. It's a separate program. That
No,
was
it's
my
standard.
point. That's what I was
comes
trying to
with-
say.
It comes with Chirp standardly.
No, it does. It's a separate program.
I'm telling you, I didn't do anything extra. I downloaded Chirp from the website for free.
Okay,
Here it is.
When do we go past this and
Yeah.
Give us a report next time, Hugh, when you take a look at it, okay?
I'll do that.
Come on, go away. There we go. All right. I gotta go back to that guy there. So third-party communications, we talked about this a little bit already. And, I talked to you about, the ISS, International Space Station Communications, where we did this. You are responsible for that person. They're allowed to use, they're allowed to transmit with you there in the room. So if, I don't know how old you guys are, if you got kids, your kids can transmit only with you there, only with you saying they can, so if your kids go into your room while you're at work, or you're downstairs and they go upstairs into your ham shack and turn on your radio and transmit, you're responsible. So you just got to be careful. Everybody's got to know the rules. They can, if grandpa and grandma have ham licenses and they live in some other state or some other city, and the grandkids want to talk to grandma and grandpa and you're there, you can say third-party transmission. I'm not sure exactly what the rules are. What I've always done for third-party transmission is I do my call sign, MJS, third-party transmission, is coming across the airwaves. And then everybody knows that's listening that this is not a ham. This is a third party using the radio. And so your kids can talk to grandma and grandpa. Following all those other rules I said, though. Every 10 minutes, you need to come back on and give your call sign and announce third-party transmission. If the kids say anything bad, it's you who's responsible. So, make sure that if you're using it this way, you have laid down the rules and your kids understand when they can and when they can't, because you don't want to lose your license because your kids didn't understand. And a lot of, this is a, USA is a melting pot. So we have a lot of families with families out in other countries, and this is a lot of times how they communicate. And so, but not all countries allow third party. So you just have to look that up and find out what's allowed and what's not allowed.
ARRL website has a list of all the countries that permit or don't permit.
Yeah, ARRL, I have learned, is the source of sources. It's a great place to go. I took out membership in it. I've already used it once or twice since over the past year or so. And I expect I will be using it more and more as time goes on. It's a really, really great place to learn stuff. It's a really great place to find out information. There's everything seems to be there. It's like the encyclopedia of ham radio, kind of. So give that a look often. Okay, remote and automatic operation. Stations such as repeaters and beacons don't have humans operating them. But they still got to follow the FCC rules. So, you know, if you put a repeater up or a beacon up, you gotta follow the rules. And you're not going to learn all the rules here for a beacon or a repeater. It's, you know, you're not expected to be able to put up a repeater as a technician. So, you know, you gotta go to the FCC rules. You know, if the day comes that you decide, I got the money and I got the ability, I want to put up a repeater. You know, you gotta go and hunt down the rules and figure it out. As with a lot of stuff with ham radio. If you're unsure, you know, go to the FCC rules. They're on the ARRL site. Part 97. Look them up, and then you can be sure that you stay within the rules and don't lose your license out of ignorance, because, you know, that's how this country works. You don't know the rules because you didn't look them up. That doesn't give you a pass. Ignorance doesn't win. The rules are out there and you can get to them. They expect you to know them. Low control. Oh, was somebody going to say something?
No, sorry, I was just clearing my throat.
Oh, okay, no problem.
Well, I could say that, no, what you have are, first of all, rules and regulations for the repeater. And also call it the common sense, where like in the Detroit area, I think just about every 2 meter repeater frequency is already assigned. That's the gentleman's agreement, pretty much. Repeater coordinating committee has done that.
Yep.
So if you can't put a repeater up on 2 meters, you might try 440 or 906 or the 1200 megahertz. Or actually, I'd like to see a lot more activity going on 1.25 meters. That's 220 to 230 megahertz. So the ARL will give you a start and will point you in the right direction for various things.
Yep. Local control operator is physically present at the transmitter. So these are just some more terms for you to know and learn. A remote operation, you know, the control point is located away from the transmitter. Automatic operation, you know, stations operate under control of devices and procedures that ensure they stay within compliance to FCC rules. Their responsibilities. So no matter what type of control is asserted, you gotta follow the FCC rules at all times, period. You know, just like driving your car, you know, you gotta follow the rules of that state you're in, period. Repeater owners must install the necessary equipment and procedures for automatic control that ensures that the repeater follows the rules. And, you know, as we've said before, you know, it all comes down to, you know, the operator. Proper operation, you know, has to be one, like I said at the beginning, one throat to choke. You know, it's all going to come back to the control operator, the licensee, who's responsible. You got to make sure all your stuff is good and right and within the rules. And most of these rules are pretty common sense. Most of these rules are not inhibiting. They are so that you don't cause malicious interference. And it might not just be malicious interference to other hams. You don't want to be causing malicious interference to the airport. We don't need planes crashing because you put up a repeater. So a lot of common sensey stuff in these rules that just makes everything work and everything better for all of us. I've never put up a repeater, but I have looked at some of the rules just because, just looking at, the rules and seeing what kind of stuff is required and not required. And, it all makes sense as to why. There's never a rule like don't walk on the grass because I don't want you walking on the grass. There's always, good reasons for why those rules are in place. Prohibited transmissions. There's 4 types of prohibited transmissions. Unidentified transmissions, that's getting on the radio and saying, hi, anybody want to talk to me? I'm Mike. Anybody out there? Hello? I didn't say my call sign a single time. False or deceptive, using someone else's call sign. Distress or emergency signals that are false. Don't ever do that. That's just like calling 911 just to see what happens. Can't do it. Can't do it. The FBI is going to be at your door if you do.
And it's happened in the last few years.
Oh, has it?
Yeah. It's right around New York area. A guy was getting the Coast Guard out on a fake sinking boat.
Oh, yeah. Yep. And I expect they caught him.
They did.
Yep. And then obscene or indecent speech. So, keep it clean. No reason to have to ever swear. If someone's making you mad, find a new station. And sometimes that's kind of hard if someone's making you mad and you're with your friends and somebody came along and they're making you mad. How do you get to a new station without him knowing where you're going? So, what you might do after the first time that happens is you might just say to your friends, hey, if this ever happens again, let's go to the Livonia repeater. And how we're going to tell each other we're going to do that is we're just going to go to the other repeater. And everybody knows it's the Livonia repeater or the guy that's making you mad. So there's ways to find, to get rid of people that are making you mad. Don't get yourself mad and lose your temper and swear at them and stuff. Not necessary.
One thing, Mike.
Yeah.
The FCC grinds slow, but it grinds exceedingly fine. Sometimes takes them a while to zero in on someone. I remember a fellow outside of Kalamazoo who spent a couple of years, bad language, music on the repeater and all that sort of stuff. And eventually the FCC knocked on his door while he was doing it. And unfortunately, they had to go through all sorts of gyrations, legal gyrations, but they were ready to swoop down, take all his equipment and give him a hefty fine. But he escaped. He died.
Oh, he died?
Yeah. So he escaped punishment, at least.
That's kind of an interesting escape. All right. Come on, isn't this working? There we go. Communications return of some kind. Oh yeah, you can't be paid. So the example that Jerry used last week, someone wants to pay you to do something, make a communication for me, I'll give you $10 or give you $1,000 or no, can't do it. Don't do it. Business communications. So no transmissions related to conducting your business or your employers or activities are permitted. You can't do business on the radio. Not what they're for. This is amateur radio. So, you can order things over the air as long as you don't do it regularly or as part of normal income making activity. So, someone might say, like I was just talking to somebody a couple days ago, asking about an antenna. He was talking about, he's getting older and I need to offload some of my stuff. And I said, hey, you got an antenna you want to sell me? That is a perfectly legal, you could say, yeah, I'll sell it to you for $50 or whatever. And I'd say, okay, I'm on my way over. Perfectly legal, perfectly okay. But if I'm making antennas, I can't get on my net that I do every month for CERT and give a little advertisement. Hey, I'm selling antennas, by the way. So if anybody needs an antenna, let me know. I'll sell you an antenna. You can buy it for as low price of, can't do it. Don't do it. Illegal. And like I just said, you can advertise as long as it permits to amateur radio and not your regular business. And the example I used permits to amateur radio, but if I'm trying to sell them regularly, that falls under regular business. So you got to find a different way to advertise and a different way to sell them. Can't do it over the air. And you can't be paid for operating your amateur station. So like we said in the very beginning, hey, I'll give you $50 if you'll transmit a message for me. Nope. You can transmit their message for them. Just can't accept the pay. One exception, business prohibition, is that teachers may use ham radio as part of their classroom instruction. So if you happen to be a teacher, you're currently getting paid in the classroom, but you're trying to teach stuff about ham radio. There's a place where you can be paid, to do that, because that's incidental to, what you're doing. Encrypted transmissions. So I know we got a lot of computer guys on here that understand, what encryption is. It's we take messages of different kinds and we garble it all up so no one can read it. And then we bring it to the location that we send it to the location we needed to use it at, and we ungarble it, called decryption, and we can read it again. Not allowed here. Can't do encryption on ham radio. Except transmission to space stations. They use encrypted data to, give different commands to space stations. If they want to, let's say they want to shut it down. Well, you know what? I don't want everybody to be able to just shut my station down. That would be bad. So that's why encryption is allowed for things like transmission to space stations, so that they can do those kinds of commands without someone taking over their station.
Mike, do we have a definition of space station? Someplace I know, but I'm not sure exactly where.
I don't think it's in this chapter, but I know I've seen it in the book someplace.
Any amateur station operating 50 kilometers above Earth's surface.
Yeah, 50 kilometers or about 30 miles. Yeah.
Right.
The book and the test answer is 50 kilometers above Earth.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I know that's covered someplace here, but I don't think it's in any of either of my two chapters.
Okay, and there was a fellow who was, well, he was giving lectures about 7 or 8 years ago. He and a few other hams built a small satellite and had it launched. And I'd see him at Handfests, and every once in a while he'd run out outside with an HT and a little tape recorder. He knew exactly when the satellite was coming over, so he would be able to monitor it and, if need be, turn the thing on or off. The thing was up for about, well, it was working for about 18 months before I think the solar cells gave out. But that's one, monitoring and also control.
Excellent. All right, broadcasting and transmission. Excuse me. Broadcasting and transmission. Broadcasting consists of one-way transmissions intended for reception by the general public, and that's kind of what we do. Our transmissions on our ham radios are intended for the general public. If you want a private conversation, pick up your telephone. I listen to different repeaters throughout my day. Just because I want to listen, I learn. I every once in a while wonder from some of the conversations that I hear, gee, I wonder if these guys would be having this conversation if they knew I was just sitting here listening. But I mean, so keep that in mind. It's general public. And I don't have to tell anybody I'm listening. And as a matter of fact, those who don't have a license, all they can do is listen. So they can't transmit and say, hey, by the way, I'm listening. I started taking sign language about 20 years ago. Started to have a need for it with a friend, and that need unfortunately went away because they passed. But I started taking sign language, and that was one of the first things that they taught us is if you're in an area and there's other people signing, you must sign back to them and let them know you know sign language. You know, it's polite, it's within, I mean, there's no law that says you can, but, you know, you shouldn't be watching from, 100 yards away, watching somebody sign and understand what they're saying. Well, that's not true with ham. This is public. So whatever you're saying, if you want it to be private, don't do it on the radio. Okay, anybody can and will, and has the right to listen to anything you transmit.
Yeah, so you don't want to talk to people about your prostrate operation and stuff like that.
Yeah, or maybe you do, I don't know. But we probably don't want to hear it. Hams may only broadcast when transmitting code practice, communicating information bulletins or for other amateurs. Necessary when it's necessary for emergency communications.
Yeah, W1AW, I guess they made that especially for the ARRL radio station. They have a very extensive set of transmitters and antennas and stuff for almost all bands from 160 meters all the way up to well, probably 6 meters, because can't get very much distance above that. But they'll send code practice at various speeds all day and most of the night. There are bulletins. Actually, QST Magazine has a schedule of when they send bulletins of news and all that sort of stuff. So they're allowed to broadcast this kind of thing. There are a couple other stations that also broadcast code and these news bulletins during the day. But as far as us reading the news or anything of that sort, so usually you don't do that.
Yep. I think when I took my technician class, somebody phrased this piece as with, as with music, you're not allowed to do music, you're not allowed to read stuff out of the paper. So basically what they said was, if it's got any chance of having a copyright, don't transmit it. So, and that, that just made sense in my head for, well, what I should and shouldn't, what I should and shouldn't do, made it pretty clear.
I just turn everything off that I don't want making noise when I'm going
Yeah.
to use my radio.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the best thing to do. Close your door, because someone might have have the TV on in the background, someone might have a radio on in the background, and or someone might be having a conversation in the background, and that will potentially cause interference in your transmission, which you don't want. You want people to hear what you're saying when you transmit. You don't want any background noise to interfere with that.
If I got people talking in the background of my house, I have ghosts because I live alone.
Yeah. I gotta move my box again because now I can't see this one. Retransmitting the signals of another station is prohibited, except relaying messages or digital data. What they mean by relaying messages is, like, when you tried to transmit earlier and all we got is static. Every once in a while I'll be on a net and the net operator will say, I heard nothing but static. But Mike here at his base station at his house heard that call sign. So I will say net control W2MJS for a relay. And they'll recognize me and I'll tell them, yeah, that call sign was this. Now, they're not getting to that person, so they may not be able to continue in the net and, do their thing, but at least they got, at least we got the call sign through with the relay. Why won't you change? Thank you. All right, when is willful interference to other amateur radio stations permitted?
B, at no time.
That would be correct. Never, never. Don't do it. Don't let it happen. You know, and again, you know, going back to your question, I say never, never, don't let it happen. You know, it's gonna happen. You're gonna transmit, and you're gonna create interference from time to time. That's not what we mean by willful interference. You know, willful interference is, you know, I'm mad at the people that are talking, so I'm just gonna turn my power all the way up and I'm gonna kick 200 watts out, and no one's gonna be able to get onto this repeater now. No one's gonna be able to talk because I'm just keying up and transmitting. I'm not saying anything. I'm just stopping. Or I play music or any of those things that they shouldn't be. That's the willful interference that I'm talking about. So don't panic if you cause interference. You know, if someone says there's a lot of bacon in the, you know, these terms, like there's a lot of bacon in the background, there's a lot of static in the background. You know, don't panic, but you do want to address it. You don't want to just say, well, can you understand me? Then deal with the static. I don't care. That's not really acceptable either. You want to fix whatever's going on, but don't panic when you do it. You're not going to get in trouble because you transmitted and happened to be in a bad part of your house that you didn't realize. Don't worry about it. Which of the following applies when two stations transmitting on the same frequency interfere with each other?
I want to say that one was B.
A, actually. Most hams are pretty good people. You know, and so if I'm trying to use this frequency, we both got on and I said, I'm going to meet somebody here. And they said, okay. And now we're keying up to have our heart-to-heart talk. And someone else tries to come on too. Well, we talk about it. You know, and somebody will say, no worries, I can switch frequencies. But you don't need to both move. You just need to talk it out. You know, you might just say, hey, you know, I'm talking to my dad in you know, Nova Scotia. We agreed to meet here. Is it okay? Can we have this frequency? And yeah, I can't imagine him saying, no, I want this frequency. I just can't imagine that happening. It may happen, but I can't imagine it. So yeah, you just talk it out. You figure it out. You big people, and you figure it out, and you make a decision and you go with it. Maybe that person just gets included in your conversation.
Mhm.
You know, whatever.
Mike, this sometimes happens. You know, the guy wants to be a horse's patootie. Then you know, he tries it, but I've heard on 40 meters and 80 meters, there are certain nets that, well, there's a Wolverine net that covers the entire state in the early evening. And they've been meeting on a certain frequency for past 40 or 50 years. And you know, if somebody's operating on that frequency, you know, having a casual conversation, sometimes, well, the net control might politely ask, because we're no, we're running a net if they would let us have the frequency. And that's an example of negotiation.
Yeah,
Aren't you supposed to clear the airways for a net anyway?
it's all out of politeness.
Politeness.
There are no one. This is one of the questions, I think. No one owns a frequency, in our ham bands.
I think when you sign your CSCE, there's some fine print on the back that tells you exactly that. That nobody owns a frequency.
Yep. So yeah, just out of politeness that people clear for nets. I've heard it on the Warren net, on the Warren repeater for different nets, and I've heard it on the Hazel Park net. 5 or 10 minutes before, 2 minutes before, the net control will say all stations, whether there's transmissions going on or not. We'll come on and we'll say, all stations, please stand by. The blankety blank net will be starting in 5 minutes.
Yes, I've heard that and jumped out of my bed because I forgot my radio was that loud and it scared me.
Yeah. Yep. And so yeah, and people respect that. I've had my CertNet starting and there's a conversation going on and I just make that simple announcement. I just break in. This is W2MJS. All frequencies, please stand by. The Warren CertNet is starting in 2 minutes. And they'll yeah, the CertNet's starting up. Yeah, let's go to this station, or yeah, let's shut up for a few minutes and join the net in a few minutes. Whatever they decide to do. But I've never heard anybody not clear. But I expect it does happen. I expect there are turds out there everywhere. All right. Which of the following restrictions apply when non-licensed person is allowed to speak to a foreign station using a station under control of a licensed operator?
C, the station or licensed operator must do the station identification.
No. It is
Oh.
B.
B,
Yep,
okay.
gotta have a third-party agreement with the country, and that's that's what I was saying before. I don't have that information readily available to me, but there are lists. It's on the ARRL. You can find those third-party countries. What identifies the third-party what is the definition of a third-party communication?
A.
A is correct. Which of the following are required for remote control operations?
C,
D.
D.
All of them.
I'm getting that one confused with another one of the questions.
Yeah, and that's the thing, in a few cases, they ask the same question, just worded differently. And, so now you only have one answer, and in this one, it's all of them. So doing those practice tests really will help in those situations to differentiate between, which is which. And
Yes, I took so many practice tests before I took the test to make sure I was good. It helps so much.
Yep. Which of the following is an example of a remote control as defined in Part 97?
I want to say D, all these choices are correct.
It is B. Because a repeater is not remote controlled.
Yes, but C is
Well,
remote control, strangely.
but a car is not controlled by amateur radio.
RC cars.
Well, I do see your point, but if anybody answers
You're wrong.
anything other than A on the test, you're going to be wrong.
Oh, nowadays you can
I
pay,
mean, B, not
some money and operate a station that's running 1,500 watts with a 200-foot tower. You rent time operating on it. If you don't know, you can rent from your apartment or whatever, or a place where you have HOA that won't allow you to put an antenna up. That would be using the internet. And it's a big thing nowadays.
All right, who's accountable if a repeater inadvertently retransmits a communication that violates the FCC rules? Who's accountable?
A, the control operator of the originating station.
That is correct.
Yep.
What, if any, restrictions concerning transmission of language may be considered indecent or obscene?
B, any such language is prohibited.
That is correct.
Kind of funny, a favorite Russian curse. I don't use any swear words. You just say, your mother, your mother.
When may an amateur radio operator use their station to notify other amateurs of the availability of equipment for sale or trade?
D,
D.
when selling amateur radio equipment is not on a regular basis.
D would be correct.
Even the regular Thursday ARPSC net has a section at the very end. Anyone having equipment to sell or trade. So, it's kosher.
Mhm. But the individual themselves shouldn't be doing it, every time. I shouldn't be on there selling my antennas every week. On which of the following circumstances may the control operator of an amateur station receive compensation for operating that station?
B, when communication is incidental to classroom instruction at an educational institution.
That would be correct. Which is permissible to transmit messages in code? When is it permissible to transmit messages encoded to obscure their meaning?
Never.
C, only when transmitting control commands to space stations or radio control craft.
Correct. C. Yep.
Yeah,
because you want to be able to control those things without other people taking them over. That would be malicious on their part. So that's why it's allowed for control commands only.
And those commands are usually short.
Yep. Under which of the following circumstances are one-way transmissions by amateur stations prohibited?
Prohibited. B, broadcasting?
B is correct. Under what conditions is an amateur station authorized to transmit music using phone emissions?
A, when incidental to the unauthorized retransmission of manned spacecraft communications.
That would be correct. What type of amateur station may automatically transmit the signals of other amateur stations?
D, repeater, auxiliary, or space stations.
Correct. Yeah, and see, ones like this, you just need to be careful. You know, because, wow, if you really don't know, all of them sound right.
Just remember repeater, because is in the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's little tricks like that are great. You know, on questions like this. Yeah, just remember it's the one that starts with repeater. If you're taking the test and you constantly get it wrong because you pick the one with beacon, well, if you can remember it's not beacon, then you can cut out 50% of them. So now you're just going to guess between B and D. But, you know, different ways of doing your practice tests and getting these right. Like we say, we want you to get 100% on this test. So those practice exams are going to really help you out. When may an amateur station transmit information supporting broadcasting program production or news gathering, assuming no other means is available?
A, when such communication directly related to the immediate safety of human life or protection of property.
Correct.
So like if a wildfire situation, getting updates on where the fire line is to know when you need to safely evacuate.
Exactly. Yep. It's a great example. How does the FCC define broadcasting for amateur radio service?
D, transmissions intended for reception.
Correct. D. So just remember general public, general public, general public. And that is the end of 8.
Perfect timing, Mike. Perfect timing.
Wonderful.
Holy cow. I wasn't even watching the clock.
Perfect timing. Oh, the Red Wings and the Flames